Folks, are you ready for a surprise tier list? I know I am. This is actually something that I only decided to do very recently for a few reasons. My initial long-term plan was to make a video like this at the end of the year, but what ended up happening these past several months is that I read way more books than I had anticipated. I set my annual goal for 40 books, same as last year, and here we are at the start of June, and I have finished 30. So instead of waiting until the end of the year and risk, forgetting some details about some of these books, I decided it might be more beneficial to do the first half of the list now and complete it later. And the reason we're doing it a bit earlier than the midway point of the year is because I think 30 is a nice round even number, and I'm also going to be going on vacation for most of June. In fact, I'm on vacation right now. How is it, future me? Is it a fun time?
Look so pretty like the devil is you. Shakespeare like it's blue. Stealing out, cutting it through.
That's crazy. I'll take that as a yes. So we're going to be starting off with the end of my Mistborn marathon here with Shadows of Self. Now, while I don't like any of the Era 2 books as much as Era 1, I still had a pretty fun time with them. I found Shadows of Self to be a pretty big step up from the Alloy of Law. I do like Alloy of Law, but Shadows of Self really got things back on track to being, hey, this is the Mistborn I know and love. And it did a lot of cool things to connect back to the original series. I'm going to go ahead and place that there in B. As well as the Bands of Mourning, I think I might like this one a little bit better, actually. The Lost Metal, though, holy crap. This book knocked my socks off, let me tell you. Found it to be an excellent conclusion to Era 2. A lot of really, really exciting stuff being set up. All of the character arcs were done wonderfully. And yeah, so I'm overall feeling very positive on that one. Continuing with more Sanderson, we have Dark One Forgotten here. This was a really fun little mystery. I was really hooked on it. It had some great twists, and I love how it connected to the greater Dark One universe. Some of the characters were a bit irritating though, like this definitely wasn't peak Sanderson, but it was still pretty fun. Elevation I already ranked in my Stephen King tier list, and unfortunately it has not changed. This is easily the worst book I've read from King so far, and yeah, it's so short I just don't really care to recommend it at all. The Son of Neptune is the second Heroes of Olympus book, and so far I gotta say, it's actually my favorite Heroes of Olympus book. Now, I don't think any of these books are super amazing, and I think most of the original Percy Jackson series is better than them, but I still do really like how Rick Riordan is sort of expanding this world, introducing the Romans, bringing back a lot of, ancient Greek figures, and I do enjoy a lot of the characters. In this one specifically, where we're focusing on Percy, who's back, and two other characters, it was a fun time, and it didn't really feel bloated like some of the others do. Babel. Ho 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 ho. Ho 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 ho, yeah. This book, what an excellent story. It has so much to say. It does it in such a creative and unique way. The magic system is so fascinating, and that just whole entire last act just left me speechless, man. Good stuff. I'd be talking about Rebecca Kuang a lot, and I recently found out that she has her next book coming out in 2025, so quite a bit of a wait, but consider me there day one. Under the Dome, again, I already talked a lot about this one. Probably going to put it here. Yeah. Again, not top tier King, but it was still pretty good. The Cabin at the End of the World, another pretty good book. I read this in preparation for the movie. I definitely thought it was better than the movie. Shyamalan, almost had it. He almost had it until that ending, man. Oh, man. Probably going to stick that at the top of B. Very memorable. Tomorrow and Tomorrow and Tomorrow. This one was pretty disappointing because it's one I had heard a lot of great things about. A lot of people really, really love this book, but it unfortunately just didn't connect with me, which was a bit upsetting because, it is about video game development, which I'm super into. But yeah, man, I just found the characters to be irritating. I didn't really care for them or their stupid story. Just, Fairy Tail also talked at length about this one. It literally was S tier material until it decided to go crazy anime nonsense, which I generally love, but not here. But still overall a good book. The Tender Rings of Desire, man. You get exactly what you expect. It's bad, really bad, but it's so short. I mean, if spending an hour reading a shitty romance novel starring Colonel Sanders sounds good to you, I mean, there's some fun to be had, but it really does not deserve to be any higher on this list. Don't Fear the Reaper. I think I'm also going to throw this one up in S, man. As a horror fan, as a fan of slashers, this one was everything I ever wanted. I love how it was set during a snowstorm. It added so much suspense. I love how it built off the first book, My Heart is a Chainsaw. I think it improved in almost every aspect, and I'm really excited to see how this trilogy concludes. Return of the King, I mean, like, you know, that's... it's Return of the King, man. The Blade itself, excellent stuff. A great start to this trilogy. Was a bit light on the plot, however, so I can definitely understand why some people have a bit of trouble getting into the first law. It was actually announced recently that Best Served Cold is going to be the first Joe Abercrombie book to be getting an adaptation, and I do think it makes more sense to start with one of those, because I think starting with The Blade itself does not have much mainstream appeal. That being said, excellent setup, excellent world building, excellent characters. The Mark of Athena was good. It's kind of just, I think, the average for like a Rick Riordan book, though. The cast is so big here, and they jump around the POV so much, it feels just really bloated and unfocused at times. There's so many just encounters with different Greek monsters and whatever, and that's when these books tend to lose me. But yeah, overall, it was still enjoyable, but I would definitely put it at the end of B. Steelheart has gotta be the first Brandon Sanderson miss for me. I thought the initial setup of this book was really cool. It's kind of like The Boys meets YA teen dystopia, and it unfortunately leaned a lot more into the YA teen dystopia. It had a lot of tropes that I did not care for and were kind of surprising to see coming from Sanderson, considering I really enjoyed the rest of his YA stuff. But yeah, while it had some decent elements, I did not care for it much, and I do not think I'll be continuing the series. The Lesser Dead was a really solid vampire book. It had like a lot of cool elements to it. I loved how it was told, and it led to an extremely memorable ending. In fact, the more I think about this book, the more I really like it. So I actually think I'm going to bump that up to A. If you're a fan of good vampire stories, definitely one to check out. And then, of course, the author, Christopher Buehlman, went on to write The Black Tongue Thief, a brand new grimdark fantasy story. And this was also a pretty solid book. Great adventure, great inventive magic system. The world had some really unique aspects to it. It was just a bit thin on the character front, something I hope that future books really flesh out more. So I'm gonna probably stick it here. I just noticed how high Son of Neptune was, like, I don't really know what I was doing there. That's probably a better spot for it. Matilda. This was a delightful little book. Honestly, these Roald Dahl books, there's not really much to criticize here. They're very cute and charming, and I do think there is definite value in them. But again, they are, you know, written for like 7-year-olds. The fact that a book written for 7-year-olds could hold my attention and get like some genuine enjoyment out of me was very impressive, though. I'm thinking mid B tier for Matilda, based on, you know, personal enjoyment. God, so weird comparing this to Under the Dome. What? Charlie and the Chocolate Factory, however, I think is unironically a banger. My God, it's so iconic. It's so peak. I'm honestly feeling an A on it. Yes, I grew up with both movies. Yes, I like know the story inside out. Probably a lot of like heavy nostalgia here, but my man Roald really sat down one day and was like, I'm about to write the greatest children's book of all time, and no amount of cocaine is gonna get in my way. Also, if you were unaware, this book has a sequel. If you want to like have an aneurysm, read the plot synopsis on Wikipedia. I guarantee it will not be what you're expecting. Before They Are Hanged, excellent stuff. Huge step up from The Blade itself, which was already very good. Amazing character work here, some fun adventures, and just the relationships that form here are unbelievable. Unbelievably good. I think I'm going to drop that one here in S tier, as it deserves. God bless Joe Abercrombie. I love how these baby books are sandwiched between the first law. Fantastic Mr. Fox, again, this is like, what the heck, man. It was so, like, short, but it was just enjoyable. It was, you know, like a goofy, fun time. I don't have much else to say. Probably stick that one here, I guess. Yeah. And now, the last argument of kings. This knocked my socks off. I was already riding that high that Before They Are Hanged put me on, but this was just like... Still cannot believe what Joe put me through. Unbelievable stuff. No words. And I am going to stick this at the top of S tier. Now, I'm definitely one of those snobs who think The Lord of the Rings is basically a perfect series, but the reason I do like rank some stuff above it is just because as good as Lord of the Rings is, for what it was trying to be, it does lack a lot of elements that I think more modern fantasy has popularized. With stuff like The First Law being a lot more character-focused, a lot more politics, and of course, with a lot more mature and darker themes. This is stuff I generally gravitate more towards. So while I do think Lord of the Rings is like the peak of all peaks, there are some things that I do prefer to it. But I mean, it's all top of S tier at the end of the day. I'm really... The Secret History, this was a very good book. You know, it's very popular. People love to hype it up, but for good reason. These characters, man, were something else. They were quite awful. Feeling a mid-A tier on this one. Yeah, sounds about right. It was messed up, though. Jesus. So James and the Giant Peach was not only the most cracked Roald Dahl book, like, man, how do you... But it was honestly probably the weakest one we read during Roald Dahl Month at our book club. Check out our book club on Instagram, by the way. It's some fun stuff. Such a twisted nonsense. My God. I don't really have much to say about it. Like, if you don't know anything about it, just like literally read the first sentence and you'll get what I mean. In the Lives of Puppets, this was a solid little story from TJ Klune, nowhere near the heights of In the Cerulean Sea, but I did enjoy the themes it explored. It had some lovable, funny characters, so I think I'm going to place that here, middle of B tier. Still really excited to see what this author has planned in the future. The House of Hades. Alright. Might be a bit of a hot take here, as this is many people's not only favorite Heroes of Olympus book, but in many ways their favorite Rick Riordan book. And I personally did not really see it. Now, I still thought it was good and did think it was better than The Mark of Athena. I did really like how our characters were sort of separated here, and we were following like two different sides of the story as they were all coming to a head. But again, it just had a lot of stuff that doesn't really interest me about the series. It had like a lot of random encounters with all these guys, and they always escape, they always outsmart them. It has been getting a bit old at this point, but I do think the overall story and the character arcs that Rick has been pulling here are really good. So yeah, we got one more left for the Heroes of Olympus. I'm hoping it goes out strong, and for now I think I'm gonna plop this here under Fairy Tale. Yellowface recently did a review on this one, and I greatly enjoyed it. I'll probably maybe not above Secret History, but I'll place it here in the A tier. Really fun and just crazy story, proving that Rebecca Kuang can definitely step outside of fantasy. It's a very modern day story told through a modern lens, and I thought it was quite thought-provoking. I'm still thinking about it. I've been thinking about it this entire time. And last, but certainly not least, my God, The Way of Kings. Also just posted a review on this, and I absolutely loved it. Blew me away like no other Sanderson book has done, and that is high praise, because I love some of those books. I'm still reeling from that ending, and I am going to be placing this just under The Last Argument of Kings. So there we have it for the first half of the year. 30 books, way more than I thought I would get done. And I can't guarantee I'm going to read another 30 more. I do have like a lot of really big books that I'm planning to get to in the second half of the year. But I also read a lot of shorter stuff, and there's of course book club. If you want to know exactly what I'm reading, I'd highly recommend going over to Goodreads to give me a follow there. When I finish a book, I'll post my rating long before I make a review on this channel. And as of course I mentioned, my book club's Instagram, where we always post about what we are currently reading, which right now should be The Blood of Olympus. So with that, thank you all so much for watching. You can leave your thoughts on this list in the comments down below. Let me know some of the things that you have read, what have been some standouts for you this year, and I will see you all when I get back for a new video.